It's Big Summer Book Haul Day. Hi, I'm Colleen. I talk about books and writing. I always do a huge summer book haul in May, beginning of May. It's my birthday. It's my treat to myself. I don't really want to go to a fancy restaurant or have a party. I want to go to 7 bookstores alone and buy as many books as I want to read this summer. And I've been doing this for about 5 years, I think. As soon as my kids got a little bit older and I was like, I love to read in the summer, I'm going to buy all my summer books. So I always have a blast. It's so much fun. This year I went to 6 bookstores. I ordered a couple books from Amazon. And so it was a wonderful day. I went from 10 until 2:30. So let's just go ahead and get started because I have a ton of books to show you. The first place I went was my town's local bookshop, which I adore, and I'm a member of their discount club, so I always start off there. And I went in with a pretty good idea of what I was gonna get there because I had been there 10 days earlier with my daughter because she had gotten a gift card for her birthday in November that we'd forgotten to use, and she found it and we were in town, and so we went to the store. And while I was there, I kind of looked around as to what I was going to get. So something that's been on my book TBR for a long time is Isola by Allegra Goodman. I got a lot of historical fiction in this haul, and I can't wait to read it all. But that is a heavy theme in here is historical fiction. I also got a lot of romance, magical realism, contemporary. I got a lot of different things. But Isola is about a real woman in the 16th century. She's heir to a fortune, and she is orphaned, and her guardian spends her inheritance and then insists she accompany him on a dangerous expedition. He discovers she's fallen in love with his servant, and then he abandons her on a small island. I cannot wait to read that. I think it's probably gonna be heartbreaking, but I've also been looking at this book. This has been on my TBR for a long time, and I was like, okay, it's time. This is the summer that I'm gonna read it. Let's see. 344 pages, so it's not that long also. I can't wait to start it. Next, I got Last Train to Key West by Chanel Cleeton. I had put on my TBR that I wanted to read one of her books. And I know they're in a series, but when I read the blurbs, it seems like you can read them out of order, and I didn't want to wait. They didn't have the first book in this series in stock, and I really didn't want to wait, so I just grabbed this one. This is the 1930s. It's a hurricane, the Florida Keys, and Cuba. And we're going back and forth. There's the Cuban Revolution of 1933 is going around. This woman who's been living in Cuba agrees to an arranged marriage with an American, and then they go to the Florida Keys for their honeymoon, and then I think that's when the hurricane's gonna hit. And I talked about this in my my bingo for 2026, that I wanted to read some historical fiction that didn't take place in Europe or America. And while parts of this is going to take place in Florida, I do think that the parts in Cuba will be really interesting, and I'm looking forward to that. I don't know a lot about Cuba in the 1930s other than I know that there was a revolution. So I can't wait to read that. I think it'll be really good. And I know a lot of people super love this author. So I'm hoping that I just love this book and want to read all her books. And then lastly, I got The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. Last year at this book haul, I got Hamnet. And I ended up taking that one on vacation, crying so hard. So I can't wait to read this. It's Florence in the 1550s, and it's the daughter of a duke, and I'm sure it'll have a similar feel to Hamnet, where you're really engrossed in this historical time period, but it's also just about life. So I am looking forward to that one too. I don't think I'm going to take this on vacation this year though, because that was a little bit of a downer. Okay, so the next bookshop I went to a new small bookshop that's one town over that one of my neighbors, it opened 7 months ago. And one of my neighbors asked me if I had been, and I hadn't. I was like, I should definitely check it out on my bookstore day. And there were 3 bookstores that I had never been to, which was really fun that I did that. And I got 2 books there. The first one is Heart the Lover by Lily King. And I already read this and I loved it. It was so good, but so sad. It's not actually a typical book that I read. So let me tell you a little bit about it because it's not a normal genre. It's lit fic in contemporary fiction / historical. It doesn't feel historical to me because I'm pretty sure it's taking place in it's either the 70s or the 80s or maybe even the early 90s in terms of technology, probably not the 90s, but it still felt very of the time. There's just no cell phones and smartphones. It just kind of felt like reading a story that would have taken place in like my early childhood. The main character is not named until the end, so I'm not going to tell you her name, but it's about her relationship with two different guys that she dates in college and how life goes from there. And you go really far into the future, like not the future of where we are now, but the future of their relationships. And it's just really beautiful. And I thought it really captured how it feels to be in love when you're like 23 years old. My husband and I were long distance for 4 years, and part of this is a long distance relationship. And I thought Lily King captured what that's like extremely well. And I did cry really hard reading this. It has some really sad stuff. And it really made me think about like how your life changes depending on decisions you make when you're young. And it was so good. And then next I got Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss. I had never heard of this. And it was literally in the shelf like this. And it just sort of struck me, like the font really is what got me. I know this is going to be backwards, I'm pretty sure. But I was like, oh, that looks so interesting. So I pulled it out, and I love a little book. I love a book I can read in a day. I'm into that. And so I looked at the cover, which is really cool. It's like a skull made out of greenery. And then read the back. It says, in the north of England, far from the intrusions of cities, but not far from civilization, Sylvie and her parents are living as ancient Britons, surviving by the tools and knowledge of the Iron Age. Sylvie's father has raised her on stories of early men, taken her to witness rare artifacts, recounted time and again their rituals and beliefs, particularly their sacrifices to the bog. Now mixing with students in an experimental anthropology class, Sylvie begins to see, hear, and imagine another kind of life, one that might include going to university, choosing her own clothes and food, and speaking her mind. The ancient Britons built a ghost wall to ward off enemy invaders, rude barricades of stakes topped with ancestral skulls. When the group builds one of their own, they find a spiritual connection to the past. How far will they go to summon this elusive history? I love ancient Britain. I haven't been reading as much about it now. I'm trying to see if you can see on the shelf. No, it's up here. But I have all of Marion Zimmer Bradley's Avalon books, which they go pretty far back in time. And you don't have to comment that she's like an awful person. I know. It's something that I have to contend with, the fact that she really influenced my life and my both reading and writing before anyone knew about how she actually was. But a lot of those books take place in pre-Arthurian England, some in the Iron Age, and I really love that time period. So when I read the back, I was like, oh, I'm going to love this book. And then I brought it to the front to pay for it, and the woman checking me out was like, this book is amazing. I was like, you've read this? I definitely thought this was just like a random book on the shelf that no one really would know what it was. But so that was a ringing endorsement, and I can't wait to read it. I've been like saving this because I honestly wanted to read it right away. But because it's a little tiny book, these are so good for after a book slump, because while I'm super excited to read all of these, you know that they're not all going to be hits. And there's going to be one that I just can't get through. And after I read one that I just can't get through, this is going to be a great one to pick up. All right, next is my second most purchased at a store. This was the bookstore I used to work at. So I still get a nice little former employee discount there. And I always buy a lot of stuff. And it's always a fun little like nostalgic time warp to walk through there. The weirdest thing for me is it smells the same. When I walk in there, I'm like, this bookstore smells the exact same it did. And like, I stopped working there in 2009. So in 2009, it still smells like that, which is crazy. But I got a lot of great books there, and let's go into it. The first one I got was Heartwood by Amity Gage. And I'm going to be honest, I read the first 8 pages of this and then decided this wasn't the right time. I'm very excited to read it. But it's about a woman who is an experienced hiker, and she goes missing in the woods of Maine. And I was reading the beginning and was liking it, but it's pretty unsettling. And I'm just going to be super honest with you. I've been very just in my life unsettled the last few weeks, I'm going to say weeks, but I've had like a death in the family that was like an expected death of an elderly person who lived a great life, but just, and then May is very busy. One of my kids is graduating from elementary school. I just have a lot of upheaval currently. One of our favorite teachers is leaving our school. So there's just a lot. And when I started reading this, I was like, this actually isn't the right time. I think this is going to be a book that in like July, when I've really settled into summer, that's when I'm going to want to read this. When I'll calm down over the summer, and I think that'll be a good summer read for me. Woman Goes Missing in Maine. It'll probably stop me also from hiking by myself in Maine, because I love Maine, but I would never hike alone. Next, I got a book that's been on my TBR for a long time, and the funny thing is I'm not going to read this summer, but I knew I would not. So I've wanted to read this for a long time, but it's been a hard purchase because it's also not a book I'd buy myself for Christmas, and that's because it's Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan, which I want to read in December. So I was talking to my cousin, and she said she read this whole book on Christmas Eve last year, and I was like, oh, that's lovely. My cousin and I are really good friends. We're very close, but she's my age, not married, doesn't have children, so Christmas Eve to read a book sounds lovely. Christmas Eve for me is like crazy, but I was like, oh, maybe this would be a good book to read on like December 19th before my world gets wild. But it's 1985 in a small Irish town, and it's the weeks leading up to Christmas, about a man who's a coal merchant, and it just sounds like a lovely little book. And Claire Keegan has a lot of books, so I thought if I love this, it'd be a great new world to jump into. After that, I got a book that has been on my TBR only for about 2 months. I think it came out very recently, and it is This Land Is Your Land by Beverly Gage, a road trip through U.S. history. I love a road trip, and I love history through road trips. We take our kids on a lot of like historical type trips, and so I was like, oh, this will be a fun one to read this summer. Again, I think I'm definitely going to read this in June or July. Like, it just has that summer read, and it's got some cool illustrations throughout the book, and I think I'll learn a little bit about history and some good places to visit nearby our house, which would be fun. My middle kid is a 4th grader, so we just got there's my home state. We just got our free pass for the whole family. You can go to national parks, national historic sites, and national forests, I think there's probably other ones that I'm not, national lake shores, I think, or seashores. You can go for them for free when you have a 4th grader. And so the summer after 4th grade, they give you these passes. And so we just got our pass. And the hard thing is we don't live super close to any of the national parks. We don't live that far away from the Indiana Dunes. That's a weird national park for me, though, because I went there as a kid before it was a national park, because it used to just be a state park. And now I think it's both. I think part of it is a state park and part of it is a national park. But that's pretty close. Like, you can drive there and back in a day. So I was thinking that might be a fun thing that we'll do. Maybe even when my husband's working, I'll just take the kids. Maybe I'll see if my mom wants to come with me. So I have 2 adults. And, just take the kids to that one and see a national park that's so close to home. But I thought that'd be a fun read this summer. Also, on my bingo for 2026, one of the things that I have is an armchair travel book, which is like a book about a nonfiction book about traveling. And so I was like, oh, this would be a good one. I think this counts as armchair travel. I hope it does. It's also probably history. We'll see after I finish it. Next, I always want to get a poetry book, because I do love poetry, and I've been on a Mary Oliver kick the last couple of years. I think maybe the last 3 years I've gotten a Mary Oliver. And so I grabbed Felicity, and I'm be super honest, all my favorite Mary Oliver poems I own already. And so I loved this cover. This cover is very much my vibe. It's like gloomy and naturey, and I'm going to also try to hold on to this one for a while, because I try to do the thing where I'm like, I'm going to only read 2 poems before bed. But then sometimes I'm just like, oh, oops, I read 12. So I'm going to try to hold on to this one to maybe the second half of the summer. We'll see. We'll see if I make it that far. And then next was a book that I've been wanting to read for a while. I was going to wait till it was in paperback, and then I'm like, I don't want to wait. This author, I always say I'm going to read over Labor Day weekend. I always consider the end of my summer TBR as like the end of the first week of September. Like, after Labor Day weekend is when summer ends for me. And I'm not sure when it is this year. But most years I put a Taylor Jenkins read on my Labor Day weekend TBR. I did not have one last year, because I'm pretty sure I read Carrie Soto's Back the year before. And so I'm going to read Atmosphere. And, you know, as I always say, every single time she writes a book, I'm like, I don't think I want to read about a book about that. And then I love it. And so while astronauts are not really my vibe, I will read this one. Also, my husband is very much a astronomy space nerd. He's also a sports nerd. He's layers. So I was thinking maybe if I really like this, I might make him read it because he might like it too. We'll see how much is actually about space. He's less interested in like space travel than he is about like the theoretics of space. So we'll see. Fun thing, I spent so much money at that store that they gave me a blind date with a book for free. So I remember this from working here. They get so many physical advanced reader copies. Like that was a huge thing. We got so many, we had like hundreds, and we used to just recycle them because they used to be pretty poorly made. Like you couldn't read an advanced reader copy more than twice. All the pages would start falling out. They didn't feel like an actual paperback. So now what they do is they wrap them up in brown paper. And if you spend, I think it was over $100, maybe 150, probably over 100. I don't think I had 150. They just said to me, nonfiction or fiction, and then just handed me one. And I got The Valley of Vengeful Ghosts by Kim Fu. And I'm actually really excited about it because I didn't pick that many thrillers. So I have Heartwood, which seems more like mysterious. And I have one other thriller or two other thrillers. But I was like, I tend to read a thriller a month at least. And so I didn't have like a lot of thrillers depending on what book of the month has this summer. I'm like, I might be out of thrillers. So I'm like, good. I got another one. It sounds nice and creepy. It's about Eleanor. Her mother has died and she's navigating life on her own. But her mom told her, like in her will, to use her inheritance to buy a house. She wants to obey her mother one last time and impulsively buys a model home in a valley turned construction site. It's picturesque development steeped in a shadowy history. So that seems like it'll be fun. It'll be a little bit scary, probably. Well, let's see. I'm going to be terrified. But I feel like it doesn't look like that scary from the cover. I don't know. I think I'll be okay. All right, let's go to another store. So I don't usually tell you the names of the stores because I like to keep a little bit of a shred of mystery about where I live. But this one I am going to tell you the name of because it was a pretty far drive and I met the owner and she was amazing. And it's Pink Couch Books, which is in Wilmette, Illinois. And if you live anywhere on the northern side of Chicago, it's a fantastic romance bookstore you should check out. The owner literally talked to the person in front of me for like 15 minutes trying to help her find the perfect book. And then she talked to me for probably the same amount of time just about, I was an author, and I talked to her about if I could have people order my books through her and all that. She was wonderful. So if you are on the north side of Chicago looking for a fun little romance bookstore, please check out Pink Couch Books in Wilmette. It was lovely. Okay, I got 4 books there, and I haven't read any of them yet, but one of them is going to be read, I'm pretty sure, next after I finish the book I'm reading right now, and that's A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. I've thought about this book for like years. I'm like, do I want to read this? Do I want to read this? So it's a Persephone Hades retelling. And I felt like a few years ago, we were getting like bombarded with them. And I read a lot of historical romance that were Hades Persephone's retelling. And then I was kind of like done with it. But I've always heard this one is so good. And so I saw it and I was like, I think maybe this is time. Because I don't feel bombarded by Hades Persephone retellings anymore. I feel like I can read this one. Like I haven't read one in a few years. And so it's Persephone. So she's literally the goddess of spring. It's not like she's a human. And she's moving to New Athens and she's disguised as a mortal. And then Hades, who's the god of the dead, has built a gambling empire in the mortal world. And so they're obviously going to meet and there's a contract. She's going to find herself in a contract with the god of the dead and his terms are impossible. Yeah, looking forward to that. I think that'll be fun. And then I got Soul Searching by Lila Sage. This cover just honestly sold me. I just read Done and Dusted by Lila Sage, which I did really like. And this one is about a haunted house, I believe. I don't really remember. It's Wyoming. Collins Cartwright is the heroine, and she finds out a developer is trying to buy her parents' antique shop, and she's going to go back and try to stop him, and his name is Brady Cooper, and now they're going to fall in love. So can't wait to watch them fall in love. And then I heard the owner pitching this book to someone else in the store, and I was like, what is that? And she was like, oh, it's Cressley Cole. And I was like, oh my God, I've never read Cressley Cole. And everyone's been like, how have you never read Cressley Cole? Like, you're a paranormal romance author. And so I got A Hunger Like No Other, which is the first one. It has new covers. These are not the covers that I like recognize for this series. And it's like Immortals After Dark. And so it's Paris and I want to say New Orleans, and it's vampires and fated mates and a Valkyrie. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna love this. I'm not gonna read this though until I turn in my final edits for the last book in the Witches of Star Island series, because I have this weird like superstition that if I read something that's too similar to what I write, it's gonna subconsciously affect my writing. So this is gonna be like more like a July, August read after all that stuff's turned in. And then lastly, I got Wolf.E, I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce that, Wolfie, by Paisley Hope. And I really liked her book, hold please. I can't remember the title. Her book, Protect. It's about hotshot firefighters. This is about a motorcycle gang, which is a little bit rougher for me. And I actually was gonna read this month. I put it on, like, I organized all my books about when I'm gonna read them. But then I read the content warning page and it's intense. And I was like, I'm not gonna read this month, as I said before, I've been slightly unsettled lately. So this will be a July-ish book, I'm guessing. We'll see. Maybe school's gonna end and my unsettled feeling is gonna immediately go down, but it's probably gonna take a couple weeks. So I think this is gonna be more like end of June, July read for me. Let's go to another shop. We have made it to the shop I bought the most books at, which is kind of funny because I walked up to the checkout with 2 books. This is half price books. I got The Probable Future by Alice Hoffman. I talked about this on Threads. I'm considering attempting to read all of Alice Hoffman's works. I don't know if that's feasible because she's written a lot. And I've read a lot, but not like anywhere near half. And she's been writing, since the 80s. So I'm thinking about it, okay? I'm thinking about it. And I feel like it's a good goal. I really like her books. I like to read a couple a year. So I think it'll work. I can't remember what I read last. I think the last one I read of hers was Here on Earth, which I didn't love, but I feel like I'm feeling good about it. This one is about the Sparrow family in New England. They've lived there for generations. They're each born in the month of March, and at age 13, each develop an unusual gift. So it's super magical realism, New England, like normally what we expect from Alice Hoffman. So I'm very excited for that. Also, we're all getting excited. I'm just taking the tags off right now because they're bothering me. We're all getting excited for Practical Magic 2, which I never read the book that was based on. That one's based on. I read Practical Magic. I listened to The Rules of Magic while I was getting a very intense dental procedure done. I don't recommend anyone do that because I didn't really like that book. The vibes were good, but I didn't like it, probably because I had like a ton of stuff going on. And then I started the Maria Owens one, which I can't remember what that one's called right now. Put the cover up here. And then I didn't finish that one. I didn't like it. And so then I didn't even start the last one. So we'll see. That's not boding well for me reading all of Alice Hoffman's work. But I've liked a lot of other books more than Practical Magic. So, not part of the Owens Sisters series. Looking forward to it very much. And then I also got The Perfect Stranger by Megan Miranda. I've read 2. I just realized this had definitely got dropped in a bathtub or a pool. It's wet at the bottom. It's not wet, but it's warped. I've read Daughter of Mine and The Only Survivors. And I love Daughter of Mine. And I thought The Only Survivors was okay. But after I read The Only Survivors, I was like, I still liked Daughter of Mine enough to try another one of her books. So when I saw this one, I was wandering the thriller shelves at Half Price Books, and they had not a good selection. Like, Half Price Books is obviously hit or miss. It's whatever people have sold. And so the thrillers were not, like, there was a ton of thrillers that I'd already read, and there was just not a lot of stuff that looked like I wanted to read it. And then I saw this one. I was like, okay, we'll do this. It's Leah Stevens. She has a chance meeting with Emma Gray and has a good opportunity to start her life over. Emma just got out of a bad relationship and convinced Leah to come live with her in rural Pennsylvania, where there are teaching positions available and no one knows Leah's past or Emmy's. I'm like, okay, I like girls. I like ladies with suspicious pasts, so that's a fun thriller. So I walked up to the checkout counter with 2 books, and then in the corner of my eye, I saw a cart that said, Last Chance, $2 mass market romance. Oh, I got a lot. So let's go through this really quick because I also just picked books without even thinking about it. First, A Cowgirl's Secret by Laura Marie Altum. I have been reading this. I'm on page 106. out of 215. I will finish it this week. The hard thing is this book was written in 2011, and you can tell because the hero is not a nice guy at all. 2 chapters in, I turned to my husband and said, I'm sorry, am I supposed to root for this man? So one of my friends, I put up all these pictures on my personal Instagram, and one of my good friends was like, can I have that book when you're done to read? This one? She loves like cowgirl, cowboy romance. And I said, yes. And then I read it and I said, hey, I'm going to give you Done and Dusted instead. It's just a different time. I mean, this book literally came out 15 years ago. I'm still going to finish it. I just don't have high hopes for feeling anything good about this hero at the end. Next, I got Twice Tempted by a Rogue by Tessa Dare. Don't know anything about it. Love Tessa Dare. Then I got One Dance with the Duke by Tessa Dare. I assume those are in the same series, but I wasn't taking my time because now it was crunch time in the afternoon and I had a time limit for getting home for my kids to get off the bus. So I'm guessing One Dance with the Duke is probably the first book, and then Twice Tempted by a Rogue is probably the second, and there's probably a 3 Times a Charm or something in that series that I could eventually get to. Next, I grabbed The Moon Witch by Linda Winstead Jones. She's also the author of The Sun Witch, which is the first book in the series, which they did not have because I'm sure I would have purchased it if they did. This book came out in 2005, so we're going to see how it goes, but I'm going to be super honest with you. Let's see if I can get this sticker off so you can see the cover better. In 2005, I 100% would have bought that book from the Walgreens line while I was waiting to get my inhaler. Then they had a deal. This book was $2. This is 2 Nora Roberts books in one, Hidden Star and Captive Star. They're calling it's the All My Stars series. I don't know either of those, and I don't read Nora Roberts a lot right now, but I used to. Like, as I said, my romance novel purchases used to mostly be from the pharmacy when I was waiting in line to pick up a prescription, or I used to live where I lived in Chicago for a long time, but when I was young, living in Chicago, single, etc., my closest like place where you could purchase anything was a CVS. So I would go there to get like candy or like a Gatorade, and I would often buy a mass market romance novel. And I used to buy Nora Roberts back then, and so I haven't read these 2, but I was like, love a Nora Roberts. I can get into a Nora Roberts. I think The Street Sweeper is going down my street, which happens once a year. It is! Look at that. He sweeps the streets, cleans up debris. And then I have 2 last ones. I got A Rogue by Any Other Name by Sarah McLean, which is the first book in the Rule of Scoundrels, and No Good Duke Goes Unpunished, which is the 3rd book in the Rule of Scoundrels. You know me, I don't really feel like I have to read historical romance novels in order, so I'm going to read the first one, and then I'll read the 3rd one, and if I really enjoy them, I will find the 2nd one and read that. So that's all my books from Half Price Books. I still have 1, 2, 3, 4 books to go. This is going to be a very long video. Okay, so next I popped into another new bookstore that's a few towns over from me in a different direction from the other new bookstore. And I went here last. It was my last stop, and I was like stressed when I was in there because I really wanted to get one book, and it's like a 30-minute drive to my house, and I was getting to the point where like I needed to get home because the kids were going to get off the bus, and like I wanted a minute to myself after I got home to like probably eat a snack that I didn't have to share with the kids and just sit in silence for a moment before they got home. And I was like looking around. It's a very small shop, so they didn't have a ton of merchandise. And then finally I'm like, I'm just gonna pick one off their staff recommends. And I had seen this book at a couple other bookstores, and I was like, I'll just get this one. And I was totally like, ugh, like, why did I do that? It's a hardcover. I spent like $30 without even really thinking about it. I'm reading it right now. It's so good. Is This a Cry for Help by Emily Austen. Here's the deal. I'm already on page 235 out of 279. I am really enjoying this book. I thought this book was going to be really funny, and it is sort of funny, but it's about a woman who has just had a mental breakdown, and now she's back at work. So she missed, I think, 2 months of work because she had a really severe mental breakdown, and she's back at work. And she's a public librarian. My friends, I was a public librarian, and her interactions with the public are so correct. It's so true. I was like, this author must have worked in a public library. It says she studied English literature and library science, but it doesn't say she currently works as a librarian, but she definitely has, because she got the lovely and the awful aspects of working in a public library perfectly. And it's such a good story, and it goes so much into like her past and why she had her mental breakdown, and it's really beautifully written. And I am enjoying it so much. She's written a bunch of other books. She wrote something called We Could Be Rats, Interesting Facts About Space, Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead. And I'm like, I want to read all those books. She's so fun. She's Canadian. I'm literally enjoying this. But I was saying it's kind of weird because so far of my books, I've read a lit fic and now a contemporary fic and a cowboy romance that I'm working on, which is pretty odd. But I'm loving this book. I can't wait to wrap this up and finish reading it right now. I literally just remembered that I actually got 3 books online. One, because I ordered it through Amazon, but it was through a used bookshop. 2 of them actually. 2 are used through used bookshops. So the first one I got from Amazon, these were books that I did not think I would be able to find. One in store, and the 2 used ones I didn't want to spend a ton of money on, and I didn't particularly care if they were in great condition. So those ones I did buy for a lot less expensive than you can get new. But the new one I got is Femina by Janina Ramirez. Someone on here recommended this to me, and your name is escaping me, but thank you for recommending it to me. It's a new history of the Middle Ages through the women written out of it. You know, this year I'm doing this personal curriculum thing. I'm not doing great at it right now, but I'll do a check-in pretty soon because I have done some more stuff. And I am learning about women in the Middle Ages and specifically women in convents, and I can't wait to read this. Now, this is going to be a book, I assume, that is going to take me a year to read. It's long, it's history. It's not going to be something, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll fly through it. But it's not, I don't think it's going to be something that I'm just like, I read this in 3 days. So it's not as long as it looks because this is the acknowledgments, the endnotes, and the index. So it's 333 pages, but it also has a huge introduction. Who wrote the introduction? I always feel like if the introduction is not written by the author, I don't want to read it. But did the author write it? Yeah, she did. Okay, so I'll read the introduction. Okay. There's also a preface. Oh my gosh. Okay. So looking forward to this. It's going to be a slow read. Speaking of slow reads and staying in a medieval vein, I also got Gregory of Tours, The History of the Franks. Do I think I'll read this entire thing? No. Oh my God. Oh no, it's just my receipt. I love when I find weird things in used books, but that's just my receipt. I think I'll read parts of this. The only thing I'm a little bummed about is when I got this, I was really hoping to learn a lot about Charlemagne. Charlemagne ain't this. It ends before Charlemagne is kicking. So I'm going to learn a lot about pre-Charlemagne. This is pre-Charlemagne by kind of a lot. So this is really like the fall of Rome transition into the medieval period, which I love that time period. So I'll probably love this book. Can't wait to read it. And then lastly, this is a book I checked out from the library twice. It's an interior design book. I love it. I love the use of pattern and color and concept. And I was like, I keep checking out from the library. There was a used copy for like $15 online. I'm like, I'm just going to buy it. And it's The Harmonious Home by Rebecca Atwood. And her theory is that for every room in your house, you can make, or for your entire house, you can pick one theme. But you can take a theme from nature and then put it into a room. I'm obsessed. I'm going to read the contents. So you can feel like dunes, sand, shore, ocean, sea, water, field, meadow, grass, forest, trees, canopy, garden, flowers, park, city sidewalks, intersection, and history. And I just love this. I made my kids look at it. I would have thought I'd be a forest, trees, canopy girl, but I'm really a field, meadow, grass girl. Who'd have thought it? Okay, so those are all the books I ordered online. And then I have one more bonus book. A few days after my birthday, my very, very dear uncle called me and he was like, I was so sick on your birthday. I'm like, I'm so sorry you're sick. Are you feeling better? Yes. He's like, I got you a gift card at your local bookshop. It's waiting for you by the desk. I'd love if you went and picked out some books for your birthday, because he's also a voracious reader and we read a lot. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Meanwhile, I've already bought all these books. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to buy more books. But there was one book I really wanted that nowhere had. So I was like, okay, well, I'll special order that and then I'll go in. So I special ordered that and then I went in one day, but I had to bring my kids with me. And so we're walking around and they're being so bad. Like, they're not being bad, but they're like being really loud and they're fighting with each other. And I was like, I'm not going to spend this whole gift card right now, because in August, something's going to come out. Like there's going to be a book out. I know there's some authors that are releasing books in the next few weeks of books I want to read. Like I haven't even checked to see if Carol Goodman has a book coming out in July. I know Jennifer Saint has one coming out in either August or September. Like there's going to be a lot of new books I want to read. I'm just going to save the gift card. I don't need to buy even more. But what I did buy was The Astrology House by Karen Jade. I saw this book 2 years ago in hardcover on my birthday, and I was deciding between this one and what's that other one called? The Last Session by Julia Bartz, which is like a really weird thriller. And I bought The Last Session because I had already read a book by Julia Bartz, and I was like, I feel nervous picking a hardcover thriller of someone I don't know. So I'm like, I'm going to buy this book in paperback. Okay. So here's the quick blurb on the back. Margot needs a minute. She's been working 80-hour weeks as a newly minted partner at her law firm. She's disconnected from her brother, the only family she has left, and she's still not pregnant after years of trying. The Stars Harbor Astrological Retreat promises rest, relaxation, and wisdom for Margot and her friends with nightly astrology readings and an impeccably restored waterfront Victorian house. For Margot's brother, Adam, it's the perfect opportunity to rekindle the romance that fuels his writing, but his wife, Amy, hides the darkness of her past with a beautiful social media feed. Their friend Farah is a successful doctor who cannot admit she's losing control. Yet no one holds a greater secret than the astrologer host, Rini, who has her own plans for the guests. And I'm like, first of all, even though I know this is like everything's going to go wrong, I'd love to go to a retreat like that. Give me an astrology reading every night. That sounds amazing. So that's all my books. Look at all those books. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Such a mess right now. So I've already read Heart the Lover. I'm currently reading Is This a Cry for Help? I'm currently reading The Cowgirl's Secret. I think I'm going to read A Touch of Darkness next. And then after that, I'm not really sure. I'll probably do a historical fiction, but I haven't decided which one yet. And I'm just going to keep this going and have a lovely summer of reading. If you've read any of these books, please, in the comments, tell me, if you're like, that is my favorite book, please tell me. I'll bump it up higher on the list. If you do something similar, like plan out a summer TBR, or you do a big book haul, please tell me what you got, what you're excited for, what's on, or even if you don't like do this, because not a lot of people do this, but if you make a list, like the books that are coming out this summer that you can't wait to read, I'd love to hear what you're excited about. If you made it this far and you don't want to write words, obviously this is a big stack of books emoji video. So throw one of those in the comments. And as always, I hope you're in the middle of a good book, about to start reading a good book, and about to start writing a great book. I'm going to go finish Is This a Cry for Help? Bye.